tenants who left property with junk in every room finally evicted after almost a year. This remarkable footage shows the horrendous state a rented property was left in by tenants, who refused to move out for 8 months. The shocking video tour of the house shows enormous amounts of junk littered across every room. In the kitchen, half-eaten bowls of cereal are still in place on the table, piles of laundry are dumped in the corner and dishes are filling up the sink. The front and back garden of the property in Bootle, Merseyside, were also cluttered with rubbish and discarded items after the family involved were removed by bailiffs. The back garden is filled with a plethora of children's toys, a paddling pool, a glass garden table dumped on its side and dirty white sheets. The first upstairs bedroom in the video, which still has a double bed and mattress, is crammed to the brim with clothes and boxes. Other bedrooms in the house are in a similar state, with boxes everywhere and children's toys and clothes. Forcible action was taken by the property's letting agent, with the tenant running up rent debts of more than £8,000. The family, including 4 children, moved into the property, which is managed by HomeServe Property, in December 2015 as part of a bond scheme with Sefton Council, in Merseyside. Problems started when the amount of housing benefit they were receiving dropped from £621 to just £140 in July 2017. HomeServe says it was forced to serve notice on the property as soon as it became apparent that the tenant refused to make any payments towards the rent themselves. HomeServe said that after notice was served, it was refused access to the property over the course of 6 arranged inspections, and the locks on the house were changed. The family eventually moved out on August 2 after a bailiff appointment was arranged. A spokesman for HomeServe said, "We applied for possession 10 months prior to this, but due to complications with the court we did not reach a bailiff date until then." HomeServe received an apology from the courts in Liverpool, who agreed that an administrative error had led to further delays in processing the claim. HomeServe's managing director, Nicholas Stott, said this was a sad situation that is becoming all too common in the private rented sector. He said, "A raft of legislative changes, including changes to the way housing benefit is paid and calculated, as well as taxation, makes owning residential property a liability rather than an asset in the most vulnerable sections of our society. It is important to remember that, if private landlords didn't own properties in certain areas, then there simply wouldn't be any housing stock available. If a private landlord is willing to provide safe, secure, and licensed housing in areas where there is demand from those entitled to housing benefit, and there is no alternative place for them to live, then those landlords should be helped, not hindered, by the housing structures in place." He believes offering safe housing to vulnerable tenants should elevate a landlord's rights with the local authority. He said, "The current systems punish good landlords and facilitate bad landlords who fly under the radar. To truly improve the private rented sector needs cooperation, not distance, between the local authorities and landlords." At the same time that county court resources have been cut, the fees for evicting tenants in breach of contract and failing to give up possession of their property have increased. This means that landlords have to pay out even more in costs to evict tenants who aren't paying their rent, so this money is having to come from alternate sources. It is a common misconception that all landlords can simply increase rent to cover additional costs. Those landlords with tenants in receipt of housing benefit cannot do this, as the benefit entitlement does not change according to a landlord's increased costs. HomeServe looks after a number of landlords who are attempting to keep up with changes in the law as they quickly come into force. He said, "If HomeServe hadn't have been willing to help this landlord for free, he would have quickly have become yet another landlord trapped within the contradictory legislative policies, should he have tried to do it on his own. We need local and national authorities to work with us to create a fair, secure, and healthy housing scheme in Sefton and the wider Liverpool area." Responding, a spokesman for Sefton Council said, "After assisting in finding a tenancy for this property, we issued a bond to HomeServe acting as guarantor for the new tenant from December 2015 to June 2016. After that date the bond was not renewed by HomeServe, which ultimately ended our involvement in this property. Payment of rent is a matter between landlord and tenant, even where the tenant may be entitled to welfare benefits to help pay it. If the personal circumstances of a private tenant change, it is still their responsibility to pay their rent. Help and advice is available from us for anyone who has difficulty in paying rent or any housing issues.